Going live here. This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com live here, 12:50 a.m., February 23rd, and Tyson Fury scored a dominant victory over Wilder tonight, getting a seventh round referees stoppage win. So very good for him. I did watch the weigh-in, and I did notice that Fury weighed in at 276 to Wilder's 231. So that's a pretty large difference in weight. I don't know if there is a limit in boxing, but in MMA, there's like that 265 limit, so you don't have the crazy weight differences. But obviously, the first contest these two had was a draw, hard-fought draw, but this was a very dominant victory, so congratulations to him. One thing I would just like to point out, I also noticed from the weigh-in, is I also saw the press conference between Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman from the WWE, and I noticed that the boxing shoot legitimate weigh-in was way more entertaining than the WWE's fake sports entertainment press conference that they had to build up that Tyson Fury wrestling match that he had in Saudi Arabia for millions of dollars. He was reportedly paid. So I find it funny that WWE doesn't want to seem fake. So it seems like these days they make their press conferences really boring because they don't want to come off as they're trying to be over the top. But now MMA and boxing, I also saw the UFC weigh-ins yesterday, and I found them much more entertaining than anything I've seen in wrestling in a long time. So as I already said, I was on Fury's side because of his wrestling connection, and I recently saw a really good documentary on him. He's a huge guy, hard to beat, and a skilled boxer. So I just want to say some wrestling news now, since this is mainly a wrestling channel. Jeff Hardy was backstage at Smackdown, which scored a 0.7 rating last night. Goldberg was on the show. I did watch Goldberg's segment with The Fiend on YouTube. I really don't understand the whole Bray Wyatt Fiend character. He is this goofy Firefly funhouse pseudo babyface character, but then when he puts this childish mask on, he's the Fiend. But when you see him in the ring with Goldberg, yes, he does have muscle on him, but like Goldberg clearly looks like the star. Goldberg looks like an athlete. He looks like an ass kicker. He looks like a star. I really hope that they just have a very quick Goldberg victory in Saudi Arabia with that match. Right now, according to the Wrestling Observer, Goldberg, Ronda Rousey, and Triple H, none of those three are scheduled to be at WrestleMania this year in Tampa, but plans could change. And I would say a smart move would be to have Goldberg be part of WrestleMania and get a victory this weekend. WrestleMania is not sold out, by the way. And according to Dave Meltzer, none of the other shows WrestleMania weekend are sold out, and the demand for like the package of WrestleMania weekend show is the lowest it's been since they started doing like the WrestleMania Raw, SmackDown, Hall of Fame all in the same city. They didn't always do it that way. And the Raw after WrestleMania used to be a very hot ticket. So this would indicate that the number of people traveling to Tampa this year is down overall. Apparently for the Hall of Fame ceremonies, that actually for the Hall of Fame, maybe people are bored of it because you're re-inducting people that are already in, such as Hogan, Nash, Scott Hall, and X-Pac. Now, I really like Nash. I like Scott Hall. I like X-Pac. I think Hogan treats people like Billy Graham like shit. So I can't say I like Hogan, but I'm not for inducting people multiple times in the Hall of Fame. Sorry, I'm not. And someone said that in my Kevin Sullivan shoot interview, which is out free now for anyone that wants to watch in its entirety over 2 hours, that I was sucking up to him, saying that Nancy Benoit should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, but she does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame more than the Bellas. She was a trailblazer, a true diva, managed so many top stars, and is actually infamous and famous in the wrestling industry for numerous reasons. So she is a true Hall of Famer. I'm not saying the Bellas aren't eventually, but the whole thing is a gimmick. I mean, Mike Von Erich is in the Hall of Fame, and Bruiser Brody is only in the legacy wing. Bruiser Brody actually wrestled for WWF, wrestled in Madison Square Garden against San Martino, but he's only in the legacy wing. But Abdullah the Butcher, who never had one match for WWE, and actually broke the whole wrestler's trust by wrestling for at least a decade after he knew he was hepatitis C positive, participating in blood matches, and then actually cut me with a used razor blade, which is how you pass diseases. So not only was he not in WWE, which is fine, they put in people that aren't in WWE, but as a wrestler, he broke the wrestler's code of protect your opponents. But he's in there and Brody's not. Carlos Colon, it was his company where Brody was killed. He's nowhere near the level of fame as Brody, and he's in the Hall of Fame and Brody's not. And by the way, they never contacted Barbara before they put him in the legacy wing, nor did they invite her. And she was in New York last year for WrestleMania. Don't believe me on that? I interviewed Barbara Goodish about it. Just search it up here on the Hannibal TV, Barbara Goodish. But anyways, back to the Hall of Fame. They're not opening the top section of the arena for the Hall of Fame and still have tons of seats left. The Smackdown Wrestlemania Weekend, right now it's only set up about 40% of the upper deck is going to be open. NXT, the entire arena will be open. Raw, only about 35% of the upper deck, and less than half of the 200s will be open for the Raw. So definitely the demand is way lower for all that. I'll get into some of your questions. Everyone's happy about Fury winning, so that's good. I love boxing. I may have a boxing match. I had 3 kickboxing exhibitions that I won all 3, but I actually like boxing better than kickboxing. Biggs21 says Brody was gunning for Hogan, so Vince had him killed. Sorry that I even said that. That's a joke. Everyone's talking about Fury on here. Wrestling will never be what it was since the 90s, Mr. Smarty Pants says. Oh, and that reminds me something about AEW. People are wondering why. Actually, a lot of people don't like AEW, or not necessarily don't like it, but aren't like interested in following it because it really caters to like the Smart Mark super fans. Definitely, the Wrestling Observer is very biased towards AEW. But I read a report that AEW has come out and said that Tony Khan actually booked parts of last Wednesday's Dynamite, including the Battle Royal. And it's like, it's one thing, I understand you don't kayfabe anymore, but this Battle Royal just happened and it had good feedback. Why do you guys have to put it out there that Tony Khan was the booker of the match? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Why do we have to know the magician's tricks now? I don't get it. Yes, I recently came out with cave videos breaking kayfabe myself, but I'm not wrestling as an active professional wrestler anymore. I haven't wrestled as Hannibal since May of 2018 when I defeated the Ring of Honor world champion Quebecer Pierre, who I've defeated on multiple occasions, by the way. Probably one of the reasons why they want to keep me out of Ring of Honor. But the reason I broke kayfabe, for one thing, I don't have another shoot interview till next Friday night with the Barbarian. I need content. And I'm not an active wrestler. I'm not trying to build anything from those angles. Yes, Billy Jack Haynes does have an idea for a chopping contest. Has never been done before. Chop for chop, as long as the people can take it. But as I told him, and as I've said publicly, he has a heart condition. I don't think a test of how many chops to the chest you can take from a notoriously hard chopper would be wise for me to do. If he really wants to do it and someone wants to pay enough for that, sure, I will do it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to do it unless there's a huge demand for it, because I really don't want to cause any hurt to the guy. And by the way, I've been speaking about Wrestlemania Weekend. I'll throw in one more plug. Billy Jack Haynes and former WWE announcer Mike McGurk are going to be at the Hannibal TV table, Wrestlemania Weekend in Tampa. Mike McGurk is the female ring announcer. Her father was the famous wrestling promoter Leroy McGurk, who actually wanted a son. That's why he named her Mike. She used to be married to Brian Blair as well. So there you go. And one final thing I'll close off with. Everyone's commenting on the boxing. Not a lot of wrestling questions tonight. Is next Saturday. This Saturday, because Saturday's over. If you live in the area of Smith Falls, Haku, the Barbarian, Scorpio, you can meet them in Smith Falls. Smith Falls is in the Ottawa, Kingston, Cornwall, Brockville area. I guarantee you, Barbarian and Haku, who haven't been in this area for literally since Haku, well, he did wrestle in Rockland, I'll give you that, back in October, but before that, neither of them had been in this area of Ontario since their WWE days, and they probably won't be back anytime soon. Their wrestling careers are winding down. I would not miss this opportunity to come watch a great match. Whole card of great matches. There's going to be 8 or 9 matches, including Lufisto against Jessica Black and much more. Sexy Eddie against Jeremy Prophet, the Canadian champion. Carl Leduc, the son of Paul Leduc, nephew of Joe Leduc. Nathan Banner, 6'6", 350 pounds. And me, Hannibal, I'm going to wrestle a girl in an amateur wrestling exhibition, not pro wrestling, amateur wrestling exhibition. Everyone seems to think you can mix sexes in the world of pro wrestling. Well, let's see how well it works in the world of amateur wrestling, which is a sport I really like. Last couple comments I'll read. Vince says Wilder was exposed as just all hype, nothing else. He's pretty damn good to make it this far, and I believe the purse was something like $28 million each. So to be a professional boxer making $28 million for a fight, you got to have some boxing skills. Sorry, my man. Checking out. I'm going to actually go hit my punching bag for a bit.